Hey everybody. So we're looking at 3.6 solving using cross multiplication today. If you remember from the last lesson, we got into cross multiplication. This is going to be a bit more of that. The only difference is the problems are going to get a little bit more elaborate as we go through these. All right. So let's just go ahead and hop in. I guess before we do, go ahead and get the title here, copy this example. We'll try it. Okay, so a big part of this lesson today is making sure that our ratios are as simplified as possible before we go to cross multiply. All right, if I take a look at this problem, I could go ahead and start out. I could do, 6 times x equals 8 times 15, and I could solve. I'd give my answer. But I noticed that I can reduce this fraction here, 6 over 15. I know a 3 goes into both of these. So I'm just going to take a quick second, rewrite this left one. By the way, that can't be reduced, so just leaving it. But yeah, 3 goes into 6 twice. 3 goes into 15 5 times. And now I have a ratio that's a lot more manageable, I guess. Okay, and I could probably do the rest of this, all in my head. So 2 times x gives me a 2x, setting that equal to 8 times 5, which gives me 40. And yeah, looks like I'm just getting rid of that 2 by dividing. And it looks like we're going to be getting x equals 20 on this problem. Okay, so nothing too different from yesterday. But yeah, the reducing was the important part. And it's always something to just look out for. Okay, so I'm gonna have you guys go ahead and try one of these on your own, and then we'll see how you did. All right, so here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping before you went to cross multiply, you noticed that a 24 over 30 could be reduced. All right, you might be wondering, what's the biggest number? They're even, so, a 2 goes into them. I'm thinking, is there a bigger number? And I'm thinking, yeah, 6. A 6 goes into 24 and 30. So let's go ahead and reduce this thing by a 6. Okay, 6 goes into 24 4 times, and it goes into 35 times. And now we're left with a proportion that is a lot easier to deal with, right? So let's go ahead and cross multiply. By the way, when you cross multiply, just like before, cross multiply with whatever has your variable first. So that's why I always start with that. So 4a equals 4 times 5 gives me a 20. All right, and now again, I can get rid of the 4 by dividing. These just so happen to be dividing evenly, which is nice, but 4 goes into 25 times. Okay, so now let's look at a problem that has, a little bit more going on. Okay, so on this one, instead of just having, the variable by itself on some spot on a ratio, we have a 3 next to it. Okay, one thing I noticed, 2 over 3 can't be reduced. Okay, but I do have this 3k over 27. Okay, and really what I'm focusing on is this 3 over 27 and noticing, yeah, I can reduce a 3 over 27. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, I know 3 goes into 3 one time, so I'd get a 1k up top, which by the way, I'm just going to write as a k. And 3 goes into 27 9 times. Okay, another thing, I'm reducing numbers. If it helps you like to put it in your notes, you can show yourself, we're reducing the top by a 3, the bottom by a 3. I do this in my head, but if you want to put it in your notes, it's not a bad thing to have. Okay, yeah, let's bring down this other ratio. And let's go ahead and cross multiply. It looks like we get a 3k equals 18. All right, and now we can solve for k and get rid of 3. It's being multiplied, so we divide. And it looks like it's going to divide evenly one more time. So that's nice. Looks like k is going to equal a 6. Okay, little reminder, if this did not divide evenly, that would be okay. Say this was a 4 instead. 4 doesn't go into 18 evenly, but we could reduce this, right? This could reduce to a 9 over 2. That's what we want to write as our answer, if that happened to be a 4 down there, just by the way. All right, let's keep moving. Okay, so go ahead and try one of these problems on your own. Again, don't forget to reduce the ratios that can be, and then cross multiply. Try it out. All right, so unlike the last problem, this ratio that it has the variable doesn't look like I can reduce that, but hopefully you notice, 10 over 12 can reduce that. It looks like at the very least a 2 goes into both of those, right? They're both even numbers. So let's rewrite this, 5m over 6. Over on the right, yeah, 2 looks like it's the biggest number. It goes into 5, or sorry, it goes into 10 5 times, and it goes into 12 6 times. Okay, so cross multiplying, we got a 5m times 6. I'm just going to do that math in my head. 5m times 6 gives me a 30m equals 5 times 6, 30. Right, which makes some pretty easy math. When we go to divide, 30, not 3, 30 goes into 30 one time. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's look at some ratios or a proportion that have multiple variables in it. All right, I'm just first of all taking a look at both of these ratios. 4 over x, 8 over x minus 3. Nothing can be reduced here. Okay, so good to know. We can just go ahead and cross multiply. When I cross multiply, I'm going to have variables in both of the cross multiplications. It doesn't really matter which one I do. First, I'm going to just start by doing 4 times x minus 3. Okay, here's the big thing. 4 times x minus 3, when we write this out, okay, that 4 needs to be multiplied by all of x minus 3. So put it in parentheses. Okay, and set it equal to the other cross multiplication, 8 times x, which we can just write as 8x. Okay, so we have one of these multi-step equations. We got variables on both sides. You guys remember whenever you see parentheses and we have distribution, that's normally the first thing you'll want to worry about. So let's go ahead and distribute that 4 times x, 4x, 4 times negative 3, negative 12 equals 8x. Okay, now we can bring the variables to one side or the other. Remember, it doesn't matter which you choose. You'll get the same answer. I like positive numbers, and I notice if I take this 4x and subtract it over to the right side, I'm going to get a positive number there, and I like that. Okay, so I have my negative 12 on the left, positive 4x on the right. Okay, now we can go ahead and solve for x. Notice it's on the right-hand side. That's okay. All we care about is getting rid of this 4. It's being multiplied, so we divide. So it looks like I'm going to get a negative 3 equals x. I'm going to save myself a step, flip it around. X equals negative 3. Okay, so I'm going to have you guys go ahead and try one of these out. Go for it. Okay, so again, I notice, first of all, these ratios, 2 over a, 7 over a over 5, cannot be reduced. One other thing I want to point out, just this is kind of like something that popped in my head. What if this was a 7? What if this is a plus 7? Could I reduce these 7s? All right, and the answer to that is no. All right, this plus sign here is kind of binding a and 7 together, and the only thing I'd be able to cancel out this a plus 7 with would be another a plus 7. All right, so just be careful with that. So either way, we can't reduce, but hopefully you started by cross multiplying. I'm going to start with the 2 times the a plus 5. I can do better than that. Okay, so I'm going to just write it out, 2 times a plus 5, don't forget the parentheses, equals a 7 times a 7a. Right, and then from here, we can distribute R2. 2 times a is 2a, 2 times 5 is 10, equals 7a. Right, and now I can bring them to the same side. Here's what I'm going to do this time, just for the sake of seeing something a little different. I'm going to bring my variables to the left on this one, even though it's going to give me a negative number, but that's fine. It's something you can do. You might have done it the other way, but we should get the same answer. So I'm going to take this 7a, I'm going to subtract it over to the left. Okay, so let's see what happens here. We have a 2a minus 7a, which gives me a negative 5a. This 10 is still on the left, so we're going to bring it down. On the right, these are going to cancel, but I have to have something over here, right? So when everything on one side of the equation gets, canceled or taken away, we're left with a 0. Okay. Now we can solve two-step equation, deal with addition or subtraction first. I'm going to subtract 10. So I got a negative 5a equals negative 10. And now I can go ahead and divide by my negative 5. And no matter which way you did this problem, if you took your variables over to the right-hand side, you should have still gotten that a equal a positive 2. Okay, so just trying to show you, yeah, doesn't matter as long as you do your math correctly, as far as what side you bring your variables to. All right, guys. So yeah, pretty quick and simple one today. Hope you're feeling good on it. I will see you in class.